What's up, everyone? Mr. NoobTube Gamer. Today we're playing Star Wars Battlefront 1 in 2021. A lot of you guys have been asking for me to play some Battlefront on this channel, so here you go. And obviously, we're talking about the Battlefront 1 from 2015, not the original from 2004. I love the 2004 Battlefront, though. I grew up with that game as a kid. And if you guys want, I might make a video on that game, too, because OG Battlefront was amazing. But for now, we're going to focus on the one that was developed by DICE, the creators of the Battlefield series. And I remember way back in E3 of 2013, this game was first announced. People were so hyped. Battlefront is finally back. Holy shit. This is going to be great. Yeah, everyone was so hyped about this game. But when it actually came out a couple years later, a lot of people were disappointed with it. There were a lot of complaints that people had about the game, especially people that played the original Battlefront games and did not like the changes that DICE made to the series. A lot of people were upset that you didn't have instant action from the first two Battlefront games back in the day, where you could play offline with bots. This game was pretty much online only. You didn't even have Galactic Conquest, which was a very popular single-player mode from the OG Battlefront games. It was nowhere to be found in DICE's Battlefront game. There was also no space battles. People really loved the space battles from Battlefront 2. Didn't have it in this game, except for DLC, eventually. It was the Death Star DLC, I believe. That's when they finally put space battles in there. But it was for a long time, we didn't have that. And there was this general feeling in the community that Battlefront 1 was a rushed game. They didn't really give enough time to make it a good experience. All they cared about was making money so that they could release the game in time to coincide with the Force Awakens movie that also came out that year in 2015. Now, all that being said, Battlefront 1 was not a bad game. It's actually still fun in 2021, as long as you come in expecting that it's not going to be as polished as Battlefront 2 did, because, I mean, when Battlefront 2 came out, that game had a wide variety of issues, but it did get fixed over time with patches and updates and all that. Battlefront 1 definitely didn't get the same level of support and attention that Battlefront 2 did over the years. So, yeah, Battlefront 1 is definitely less polished. It's less content-rich because, I mean, Battlefront 2 has 3 eras of Star Wars. Battlefront 1 only has 1. You can only play as a rebel or an Imperial soldier. There are less maps you can play on. There are less heroes you can choose from. There's just no reason to play Battlefront 1 over Battlefront 2 in 2021, unless you're really curious. Like, I would say, here's how I would say, as far as whether or not I would recommend you play this game in 2021. If you have EA Play or Game Pass Ultimate, go ahead, because there's nothing you could lose. You already have it included in your subscription. You might as well check it out, unless you're on PC, because on PC, the game is completely dead. You will not find a multiplayer match. It's much more active on consoles. So, yeah, I would just say that off the bat, that if you're a PC gamer, under no circumstances is this game worth playing in 2021. I don't know why the game is so much more active on console compared to PC, because Battlefront 2 has a very strong player base on PC, even to this day. So it's kind of weird that Battlefront 1 is so dead on PC, but I tried it. I have EA Play on PC as well as the Xbox, and I couldn't find a match on PC. But then when I downloaded it on Xbox One, I got into a 40-player game instantly. So yeah, almost 6 years later, there's still a very active player base on console with Battlefront 1. In that respect, the game is worth playing because the game is far from dead. Because there are a lot of games that are old. They're still really fun games, like they're great games, but there's no player base. In the case of Battlefront 1, you do not have to worry about finding players. I was able to play this shit at 10 o'clock at night on a Monday night. So you shouldn't have any problem getting into a game if you're on PlayStation or Xbox One. And these are dedicated servers, obviously, so you don't have to worry about, like, in the older Call of Duty games that I play on this channel, where the host keeps migrating and you have to worry about, the shitty connection. The connection is smooth as hell in Battlefront 1. I don't run into any problems as far as that goes. There's no cheaters either. You don't really have that either, because, I mean, I try to play Black Ops 3, which came out around the same time as Battlefront 1. Black Ops 3, it's filled with hackers so much to the point that it's completely unplayable in 2021. Battlefront 1, though, doesn't have that issue at all. So functionally, Battlefront 1 still works fine in 2021. The servers are still going strong. You still have a lot of players. There's no cheating. There's none of that bullshit. It still works the way it did when it came out. But overall, I would say the Battlefront 1 experience 6 years later, it's a mixed bag, because everything works the way it's supposed to, But as far as how the overall gameplay and everything holds up, it's a bit of a different story because, like I said, Battlefront 2 pretty much does everything better than Battlefront 1. There's just so much more content in Battlefront 2 that there really isn't a huge reason for anyone to want to go back to 1, especially when a lot of the content that we did get in 1 was ported over to 2, like Hoth, Jakku, and pretty much all the DLC, like Bespin, Death Star, Scarif. Most of the content from Battlefront 1 you can play right now in the second game, so it's kind of like, why even bother going back in the first place, right? I can't think of a single thing that Battlefront 1 does better than 2. Like, one reason why you would want to play the first one instead of the second one. I can think of plenty of reasons why someone would want to play Call of Duty 4 over Modern Warfare 2, or Halo 1 over Halo 2, Halo 2 over Halo 3, but there really is no incentive for anyone to even want to go back to Battlefront 1 and play that and not play Battlefront 2 instead. Battlefront 2 just has so much more to offer, so much more content. There are more maps, more heroes, more game modes, and honestly, the only reason why I went back and played is to make this video. I had no desire to go back and play Battlefront 1 after all these years. I think the last time I played was back in 2016. It was on sale for like $10. It was the entire game plus the DLC. I'm like, I can't pass up on a deal like that. So I bought it, and this was probably like about a year into the life cycle of the game because I remember all the DLC was out at that point. The Scarif DLC like just dropped when I bought it, and I remember being pleasantly surprised at how good it was. I'm like, wow, this game is actually a lot of fun, but keep in mind, my experience is a lot different as someone that paid only $10 for it compared to someone that bought it day one for $60, plus the $50 expansion pass. That's like $110. So yeah, from my memory, I actually had a lot of fun with Battlefront 1. I'm just saying, once Battlefront 2 came out, Battlefront 1 became completely obsolete, which I guess, you know, that's to be expected. A sequel's supposed to be better than the original, but especially with the Battlefront series, compared to all the other game franchises I can think of, there's plenty of reason to go back to older COD games, plenty of reason to go back to older Halos. But for me, since Battlefront 2 came out, I never had a desire to ever go back to Battlefront 1, because Battlefront 2 just did everything better than the first one. And when I say everything, I mean everything, because never mind the overall content being a lot greater in the second Battlefront than the first one, I definitely prefer the balancing of the second Battlefront than the first one, because the way that Battlefront 1 is structured makes absolutely no sense to me. That you have these power-ups all over the map that can include being able to play as a hero. That's what I did in this gameplay. I got to be Darth Vader because I just picked up some random shit off the map. And you can also pilot the AT-AT and, you know, do all these different things. You can have all these different power-ups, the thermal grenades and the shields and all this shit. Like, it's all just randomly placed instead of you actually having to do anything to earn it. And the way that they're placed, it just feels completely random. It makes no sense. A good example of this is on the map that you're seeing right now, Endor. You notice how most of the vehicles, pretty much all the vehicles actually, they're controlled by the Empire. The Rebels don't really have any vehicles that they can use in combat in this map. But for some reason, even if you're on the Empire side, you get these fucking power-ups that give you a rocket launcher that's very useful against vehicles. But the problem is, I'm in the Empire. The Rebels don't have any fucking vehicles that I have to shoot down in this map. So that power-up is completely fucking useless. I, fucking hop across the map to get it, and I'm putting my life at risk because I'm pretty much an open target trying to get this fucking power-up, and it's for nothing. So yeah, I definitely wish that DICE put a lot more thought into the game overall, but especially the balancing. They really didn't put much effort into making the power-ups and making the game overall feel balanced and make it, like, at least have a logic to it. The credit system in Battlefront 2 definitely worked a lot better. So, that's Star Wars Battlefront 1. I had fun going back and playing it for a bit for this video, but I'm probably not going to come back for another 5 years, honestly. It just doesn't hold up that well, in my opinion, especially when it's compared to its sequel. If you do have EA Play or Game Pass Ultimate, though, it can't hurt to check it out if you're curious. It's not a bad game, they're just better games to play in 2021. When the game was in its prime, it didn't feel like a complete game, and that was never really rectified during its life cycle. Unlike Battlefront 2 that kept getting support and it eventually grew into an amazing game, Battlefront 1 got no such treatment. It just kind of was left the way it was and didn't get much support outside of its overpriced DLC. So yeah, no, I don't think it's worth playing these days. And that's pretty much all there's left to say about Battlefront 1 in 2021. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.